Level 1. The Hedge Knight.
Forget about shiny armor, tournaments for a lady's smile, and noble vows of chivalry. Real medieval knighthood is a brutal, dirty business where you either become a ruthless machine of steel or your bones rot in a roadside ditch. Your journey to the top doesn't start with epic victories. It starts at the absolute bottom, where the laws of honor mean nothing. Basically, at this stage, you are just a heavily armed homeless vagabond. You don't own a castle, you don't have a single acre of land, and you don't have peasants working for you. All your property is an old, exhausted horse and a bent, hand-me-down chainmail shirt that rusts if the air gets too humid. Every single morning begins with the tedious chore of cleaning iron. You take a wooden barrel filled with dry sand, dump your chainmail inside, and roll that barrel on the ground for hours just to keep the rust from eating through the metal rings. Being a hedge knight means you are always one bad week away from starving to death. Your warhorse is your only ticket to survival and your entire capital. If he breaks a leg in a rabbit hole or gets killed in a random skirmish, you instantly lose your status and turn into a regular beggar infantryman that nobody gives a damn about. That is why you sleep with your arms wrapped around your horse, give him the last of your oats, and worry about his health way more than your own life.
Your daily reality has zero majesty. You hire yourself out to guard merchant caravans from dirty forest bandits, collect debts for small-town traders, or serve as a temporary bouncer at local fairs. You sleep on rotting straw crammed into roadside taverns alongside mercenaries and runaway peasants, where the walls are black with soot and the air reeks of cheap ale, bad stew, and damp woolen clothes. Your diet is salted meat that tastes like leather, stale barley bread, and sour beer that gives you a constant stomachache. On the high roads, you regularly face the utter contempt of wealthy landed lords. They ride past you in expensive silks, surrounded by servants and hunting falcons, looking at your muddy, battered armor like you are nothing but roadside trash. But you swallow your pride because you have a heavy sword and you know how to use it way better than those soft, wealthy nobles. You are just waiting for your chance to spill blood for actual coin. And soon, a massive civil war gives you exactly that opportunity.
Level 2. The Free Company Lancer.
Your raw survival instincts and brutal efficiency in a bloody roadside ambush catch the attention of a powerful mercenary captain. He offers you actual gold, regular rations, and a guaranteed share of wartime plunder. You sign the contract on the spot.
This is the stage where you drop every single illusion about knightly honor. The free companies do not fight for kings out of patriotism or a sense of justice. They fight for the highest bidder. You quickly realize that real medieval warfare is not about face-to-face chivalric duels on a beautiful green meadow. Your primary job now is to systematically dismantle the enemy's economy through an authorized campaign of total terror called the chevauché. You spend weeks at a time in the saddle, burning defenseless villages to the ground. Your mercenary company rides into peaceful farming communities, torches the crops, drives off the cattle, and ruthlessly butchers any peasant who tries to protect their home. The logic is coldly efficient. If the enemy lord has no peasants left to pay him taxes or harvest his grain, his grand stone castle will starve and surrender without your army ever firing a single catapult.
Your nostrils are permanently filled with the stench of ash and burning flesh, and the reflection on your iron armor is replaced by thick layers of black soot and dried blood. You quickly learn to shut your ears to the screams of innocent people, because every silver chalice looted from a village church or every purebred stallion stolen from a local mayor is your ticket out of poverty. You need that blood money to buy high-grade Milanese armor, hire your own squires, and finally secure a permanent place in high society. You fight with the desperate fury of a man who has nothing to lose. During a vicious night assault on a border outpost, you throw yourself in front of a wealthy duke, catching a lethal crossbow bolt on your own shield. Grateful for his life, the bleeding duke promises to reward your loyalty with a noble title, a coat of arms, and your own personal estate. You think you have finally won the game of life. But when you arrive to claim your prize, you realize your new land is a lawless nightmare that will test your sanity like never before.
Level 3. The Border Lord. You think you have finally made it. You have a noble title, a coat of arms, and your own peasants to command. But the reality hits you like a blunt mace straight to the chest. The estate your lord granted you isn't a prosperous valley. It is a miserable, muddy stretch of wilderness right on a hostile, bloody border. Your grand castle is nothing more than a leaky wooden tower surrounded by a rotting ditch. And your peasants? They do not look at you with respect. They absolutely despise you. To them, you are just another armored tyrant who steals their food and demands their blood. Tax collection isn't a peaceful transaction. It is a brutal shakedown. You have to ride into their filthy mud huts with your men-at-arms, swords drawn, ripping up floorboards to find hidden grain or a few buried silver coins. If they cannot pay, you take their last cow and leave their children to starve in the winter. You cannot afford to be soft, because the border is a lawless, terrifying nightmare. There are no grand, honorable battles here, just a relentless, exhausting guerrilla war. Night raids are your daily reality. You learn to sleep with your heavy chainmail on, waking up in a blind panic to the smell of smoke because a rival lord's raiders just set your granary on fire. You spend your nights riding through pitch-black, freezing forests, hunting down these thieves and hanging them from the nearest oak tree without a trial. Your hands are constantly caked in dried mud and cold sweat. You are isolated, paranoid, and perpetually exhausted, trusting absolutely no one.
But your brutal efficiency pays off. You hold the line, and your ruthless reputation catches the eye of the king's high commander. A massive royal campaign is being prepared, and they need men who do not hesitate to kill. You are summoned to join the elite vanguard of the royal army. Get ready, because you are about to become a literal human tank, and your world is about to turn into a pitch-black, suffocating metal coffin.
Level 4. The Heavy Shock Cavalry.
This is the big league. You are no longer just a guy on a horse. You are now a literal human tank on the battlefield. But being a medieval tank is a claustrophobic psychological horror story. To fight in the front line of a royal army, you have to upgrade to full plate armor. This steel suit costs more than an entire village, which means you are buried under a mountain of financial debt to foreign bankers before you even draw your sword. Putting it on takes an hour and requires 2 squires screwing the heavy steel plates directly onto your body. Once your helmet snaps shut, your world vanishes. Your vision shrinks to a narrow 2-inch horizontal slit. You can barely see what is happening to your left or right. The air inside immediately becomes hot, stale, and suffocating. You are sweating profusely, and your own rapid breath echoes loudly inside the metal mask.
Then, the horn blows. You are lined up knee to knee with hundreds of other knights, forming a solid wall of iron. Your warhorse, heavily armored and terrified, begins to trot, then gallops. The ground beneath you literally trembles as thousands of heavy hooves thunder across the field. The sheer terror of a cavalry charge is indescribable. You cannot turn back. The pressure of the knights packed tightly behind you pushes you forward. Through your tiny visor, you see the enemy army rushing toward you at 30 miles an hour, a terrifying forest of pointed pikes and spears. The impact is a deafening explosion of splintering wood, screaming horses, and the horrific sound of iron crushing human bone. If your lance shatters against an enemy shield, you instantly draw your mace and start swinging blindly in the chaos, relying on raw muscle and survival instinct.
But the greatest danger isn't an enemy knight.
The real nightmare happens if your horse gets killed or trips over a corpse. You crash to the ground with the force of a falling anvil. Trapped under 60 pounds of metal, bruised and unable to move, you are completely helpless. As you lie there, suffocating in the mud, you look up through your tiny eye slit and see a common peasant foot soldier stepping over you. He doesn't care about your noble blood or your knightly honor. He pulls out a narrow, rusted dagger, the misericordia, known as the dagger of mercy, and slowly aims it straight at the gap in your visor, looking to drive it into your brain. You survive only because your squires drag your battered body out of the meat grinder at the last second. But the war isn't over. The enemy retreats behind massive stone walls, forcing you into a prolonged, soul-crushing campaign that will completely break your mind.
Level 5. The Siege Butcher.
The open battlefield is gone, and the enemy has retreated behind massive stone walls. Now, you enter the grueling, mind-shattering reality of a medieval siege. Forget glorious charges. This level is about months of sitting in freezing, muddy trenches, surrounded by the stench of rotting corpses and open latrines. Here, disease is a far bigger killer than any arrow. You watch your men waste away from dysentery, and soon your supply lines are cut off. You get so starving that a roasted rat or a strip of meat from a diseased dead horse tastes like a royal feast. The agonizing boredom is broken only by sudden, terrifying artillery bombardments as massive stones crush your camp in the middle of the night. Your mind begins to fracture, and any remaining sense of chivalry completely rots away. You are no longer a noble knight. You are a desperate, starving animal.
When the order for the final assault is given, you have to lead the breach. You climb a rickety wooden ladder, completely trapped inside your heavy armor, unable to dodge. You look up, and instead of a glorious duel, the defenders pour boiling pitch, molten lead, and actual human feces straight down on you. The scalding liquid seeps into the joints of your plate armor, literally cooking you alive inside your own steel shell. Blinded by agony and raw, savage madness, you push through the breach and hack down everything that moves. When the walls finally fall, you let your men unleash a 3-day nightmare of looting and slaughter on the town. You are incredibly rich now, your pockets stuffed with gold from the sacked city, but your soul is completely black. You decide to leave the muddy trenches forever and move to the highest, most glamorous circle of the realm. But the ghosts of the people you slaughtered are going to follow you straight into the glittering, deadly arenas of the royal court.
Level 6. The Tournament Champion. Welcome to the absolute peak of the medieval world. You are no longer covered in trench mud or dodging peasant daggers in a dark forest. Your armor is now custom-made, polished to a mirror shine, and covered in expensive gold leaf. You are a celebrity, a living legend. From the outside, this looks like paradise. Thousands of peasants and noble ladies scream your name from the grandstands, waving colorful banners. Heralds shout your long list of victories as you ride slowly into the arena. But as you sit on your massive warhorse, waiting for the trumpet to sound, you are living in a state of constant, hidden physical agony. Years of warfare, siege trenches, and tournament jousting have completely destroyed your body. Your ribs have been broken so many times they never healed right, making every deep breath feel like a knife stab. Your joints are consumed by severe arthritis from wearing heavy iron in the freezing rain, and you can barely grip your lance without a heavy dose of numbing herbal tonics.
But the worst damage is inside your head. Every time an enemy lance shatters against your helmet at 30 miles an hour, the impact doesn't just break wood. It slams your brain directly into the side of your skull. You suffer from permanent, undiagnosed concussions. You get dizzy just standing up in the morning. Your hands shake constantly when you are out of armor, and you are starting to forget basic things, like the names of your own children, or what your mother's face looked like. You are a physically broken old man, trapped inside a beautiful gilded steel cage. And the stakes in this arena are completely terrifying. Tournament jousting isn't a friendly game. It is a ruthless gamble where you risk everything you own on every single run. According to the laws of the tournament, if an opponent knocks you out of your saddle, he wins your entire ransom. That means he takes your custom armor, your elite war horses, and all your weapons. Losing a single match means instant, total financial ruin, throwing you right back to the poverty of a hedge knight. So you ride out day after day, coughing up blood inside your helmet, knowing you have to win just to keep your house and your status.
You look down the tournament track, and through your tiny visor, you see your next opponent. He is a 19-year-old knight from a poor, desperate family. He is fast, he is hungry, and he has absolutely nothing to lose. He looks at your gold-plated armor, and he doesn't see a legendary hero. He sees a jackpot. He sees a stepping stone to his own fame, and he is fully prepared to break your neck to get it. The trumpet blows for the final time. You spur your horse forward into a gallop, the wind roaring through your eye slits, knowing that this might be the exact second a jagged wooden splinter pierces your throat, ending your legendary story in the dirt. You survived the brutal training. You survived the lawless borders, and you conquered the battlefields. But in the end, the medieval world always finds a way to grind you into dust.